Hi, my name is Utkarsh. I'll back. Today I am reading the second part of the book. Get the scoop, Geronimo. So here I begin. Thea, you were just jealous of the success of Gossip Radio. Before Thea could protest, Ernest chimed in. Sally may be right. The Stone Gazette hasn't had any big stories lately, he said. And with this kind of news, Gossip Radio is a whisker away from winning the Stone Age Retirizer. Sally laughed. Ha! Did you hear that? You slab chiselers, you are doomed. The crowd of rodents cheered and applauded loudly. Sally smiled a wicked smile. Bouncing bananas. She's such a show-off, Hercule said. But well, show her. Isn't that right, Geronimo? I nodded. Before I hadn't cared about winning the Retirizer. But now I had to win. My pride was on the line. Fossilized Feta. Sally was not going to get away with this. Deep in thought, we returned the Stone Gazette headquarters. Hercule was furious. The Sally is not a journalist. She is fraud, he cried. You are right, and we will get to the bottom of her deception, cried Thea. The thought of going after Sally made my whiskers quake. I have seen her when she is angry. She could crush me like a brontosaurus stepping on a bug. Maybe going after Sally isn't the best plan, I said. What? Are you just giving up? Thea asked angrily. Now I said, I mean, baby, we just need to find a good story, a good, honest story. Thea nodded. Of course, that's exactly what we need to do. We'll find a terrific new story, and then that big, phony Sally won't win the Retirizer. But how can we find a big story soon? I asked. It's not like one will just fall out of the sky unless they're meteor showers, Hercule piped up. Think positive, Geronimo, Thea demanded. She slapped me on the back with a force of boulder. Boy, she really wanted to win. You and I are still newts. We have a nose for news. So let's get out there and start sniffing. When Thea sets her mind to something, there is no way to stop her. And Hercule was just as determined. So when Thea scanned out into the street with Hercule at her heels, I knew I had to follow them. Where should we sniff first? Hercule asked. Old Mouse City is a big place. News could be hiding anywhere. Thea said. And then her eyes lit up. I know, let's go to the Rotten Tooth Tower. Maybe our cousin Trap has something delicious to tell us. Good idea, Hercule agreed. This is a great plan, said Thea as we walked. As Geronimo said, we can't accept news to fall from the sky. Splat! A ripe tomato hit me right in the face. Not far from Trap's tavern, a small crowd of rodents was tossing every kind of vegetable at a very short, very fat, well-dressed rodent. That's Rocco Caruso, the famous opera singer, said Thea. Thea didn't have to tell me who he was. Rocco is known by every rodent in the Stone Age. His powerful voice is loved throughout the prehistoric world. But something was wrong. The crowd was angrily, and Rocco was standing on a stage, looking sad, very sad. And he was as quiet as a mouse. What happened? Hercule asked. A mouse with a pawful of rotten cabbage answered him. What happened is that Rocco can't seem to sing. As soon as he opens his mouth, only squeaks and witches come out. Shame on you. We paid 50 seashells to hear you, yelled a rodent as he hurled a rotten eggplant at the poor opera singer. Rocco looked so embarrassed. He cleared his throat and tried to sing his song once more. I love you more than Mademoiselle. Please let me be your special feeler. He got the words out this time, but his voice was awful. He sounded like a brontosaurus with a bad cold. This could be the big news story we need, Thea whispered to me. But right there we heard newsflash. It was Sally screaming, "Look, a pterodactyl!" from the top of the gossip Radio Rock. The famous opera singer Rocco Caruso has lost his voice. There is a huge reward for the rodent who finds it. How could this happen? I couldn't believe it. That big fake Sally has snatched out fabulous piece of news right out of our paws. Bones and stones. I cried. Just not fair. Thea looked thoughtful. I have an idea. Follow me. We dug flying vegetables as my sister led us up to a stage. Rocco had climbed down and as were hiding behind it, trying to clean his fur. We looked so miserable. Thea approached him, her big violet eyes full of sympathy. Mr. Caruso, we are big admirers of yours, she began. We are so sorry about your voice. We could love to cheer you up. Will you join us for dinner? Surprise. The opera singer crackled a smile. I do feel a little hungry. Ick, he replied. At least that's what I think, he said. His voice is cracking and squeezing terribly, and he was difficult to understand. What did he say? That he is hungry? Hercule asked. It's too bad he got pelted by rotten veggies. As at least the angry crowd could have thrown some double cheese pizzas or barbecued ribs or cheese balls or something. Eek, I will gladly accept your invitation, Rocco said as he rubbed his belly. Well, then, la, let's go to dinner. Hercule nudged me. What's he saying? I can't understand a word. Shh, Thea warned. Rocco is very touchy. He said he'll join us for dinner, and that's exactly what we need for my plan to work. Hercule and I both nodded. I was very curious to see what Thea had in mind. We led him to the Rotten Tooth Tavern and found a table inside. My cousin Tia bought us a menu, and Rocco licked his lips as he looked at it. Let's see, he said. I would like a dish of grilled peppers with blue cheese sauce, 20 petodiet eggs. Why don't we make it 21? An extra is always better. As a platter of Jurassic cheese balls, as a salad with cheese croutons. What? No dessert? Asked Hercule satirically. Of course dessert, Rocco said. He eyed the menu once more. La, let's end this delicious meal with 2 strawberry cheesecakes and some strawberry cheesecakes and some cheese cookies. Yes, that should do it. Are you sure that's enough? Hercule asked. Not really, that's a very light dinner, Rocco said. Right away he began chowing down. Chop. Rocco devoured the food like a saber-toothed tiger, tearing apart prey and finished it all in record time. After he was done, I saw Thea whispered something in Trap's ear. He scampered into the kitchen and returned with 3 mugs of steaming liquid. This is our home specialty stomach seltzer, he announced. Hercule and I tasted it first. Yum, I said. As it slid down my throat, the brew was very warm, very sweet, and very spicy. My mouth was on fire. My face turned bright red. I ran between the tables until I found a pitcher of icy water and dunked my snout right in it. Hercule ran out for the tavern like a lightning bolt and dove off a pier into the water. But Rocco seemed to like the drink. Thea was grinning from ear to ear. "Why are you so happy?" I asked her. "Hee hee, you mean?" Thea quickly began to chisel out a story about Rocco's miraculous recovery. This time we were going to beat out Gossip Radio for sure. Rocco kept singing his skills, and the guests at the tavern applauded loudly. Then he burst into song again. This time he hit a very high note at the end. "I love you," then blue cheese. The note was so high that every cup and plate in the tavern shattered, along with the stone slab that Thea was chiseling. "Oh no, our special edition was now in 1,000 pieces. There's gone our scoop," Thea sighed. "Let's hurry back to the office and chisel another one," I said. While Rocco kept singing, we raced from the tavern as fast as a hurtling meteoroid. But right as we got to the office, Sally's voice is already shrieked. Newsflash, Rocco Caruso finds his voice. Or did his voice find Rocco? Details in our next report. Great Rocky Bounders. Sally had beaten us again. Things were looking very bad. We stopped racing and caught the breath. We picked up some more tablets and then wandered away slowly. Thea helped Grunty blow his nose, and I decided to take a rest under the palm tree. We were about to sit when "Stop, don't you dare!" The voice belonged to Professor Frank Flarper, the most famous botanist in Old Mouse City. He shook his head at us. "Why does nobody pay attention to the beauty that is right at their feet?" he grumbled. "You two were about to sit on a very rare hard rock rose." I looked down and saw some blue-gray roses pouring up from a grass. They looked short and shriveled. Frank bent over them. "Danger ahead, my dear little roses. What makes these dried-up flowers so special?" Hercule asked. Suddenly a flower bent over the smashed Hercule's foot. "Ouch! It serves you right," said Frank. "Hard rock roses have very hard petals, and their feelings get hurt easily. So be careful what you say." That got Thea's attention. "These are very special flowers." "That is true," said Frank. "Hard rock roses normally grow only in stinky swamp, the habitat of saber-toothed tigers. It's the first time I have ever seen them in our village." "You seem pretty excited about that," I said. "Of course I am," Frank said. "The tigers use the petals to make their clubs stronger. Now we can do the same." Thea lit up. "Wow, this is a great scoop." So my sister grabbed yet another stone tablet. She quickly began to chisel the story so we could get the news out fast. "Would you please grant us an interview, Professor Flarper?" Thea said. "Well, actually, I have already given an interview today," he replied. "A rodent in a pink outfit came trampling through here before. We immediately know who he meant." "Oh, no, I cried. A moment later, Sally's wife boomed through the village. "Newsflash," she cried. "Saber-toothed tigers secretly revealed. A flower as hard as granite."